Today, the Academy Awards ceremony is being held to award movies from the previous year with Oscars. This is not news to anyone watching this, but what might be surprising is that a horror movie has been nominated for 16 Oscars. This, of course, is Sinners, produced, written, and directed by Ryan Coogler. Saying Sinners was a standout movie last year is a huge understatement, making a big splash not only in the horror genre, but in film as a whole. However, it wasn't the only horror movie last year to be a huge hit with horror and non-horror fans alike. I'm talking about Weapons, produced, written, and directed by Zach Cregger. Both these films feature a very memorable antagonist who has eternal life and uses her supernatural powers to create a small army that centers around a core location in the film. The question is, who would actually win between the Irish vampire Remmick or the witchy Aunt Gladys? My name is Mr. Catface, and this is Catface Versus. As a huge horror fan, I'm excited to cover some horror characters on the channel, and this definitely won't be the last time. If you love horror movies too, tell me some of your favorite horror matchups in the comments below, and hit the subscribe button. I focus on versus debating discussion and power scaling questions. The only rule here is to keep it civil. Okay? Let's go. We're going to start with Remmick, as he's the reason I'm doing this video when I am. It's not often a villain becomes instantly iconic, but Remmick makes such a strong impression immediately. I mean, his introduction is him falling from the sky on fire, already showing that he's no normal human. Hailing from Ireland, Remmick was driven from his homeland by British colonization, which has left Remmick longing for companionship. This is why he seeks out Sammy Boy, whose music crosses the bounds of time to bring spirits from the past and future into union through song. Despite his loneliness, he has the ability to create his own family built around fellowship and love. Being a vampire, anyone he bites turns into one as well. They still retain their old personality, but are under Remmick's influence and have his memories and abilities. The downside is when Remmick is hurt, all of his vampire creations feel the same pain. It's not easy to hurt him though. He can fly into the air to avoid direct confrontation, though how fast he flies isn't exactly known. It doesn't seem to be that much faster than running, if any at all. Why he needs to run from a fight is questionable, as he can heal from just about any wound he receives. It's unlikely he could survive fatal injuries like decapitation, but anything else is like a paper cut to him. It hurts bad, but it won't stop him. He can be killed by traditional vampire weaknesses like garlic, natural sunlight, and a stake through the heart. In addition, he's weak to silver, which is a sometimes weakness to vampires, though it's more associated with werewolves. He's also not coming alone. When he approached the Smokestack Twins juke joint, he came with two friends, Bert and Joan. Even though they couldn't enter the joint because vampires need to be invited into a home to come inside, a few people went outside and joined the vampire party. This includes Mary, Cornbread, Bo Chow, a random drunk guy, and Stack himself. Those are just the important people, as they're not all. They managed to get all 65 juke joint patrons after they left, including Remmick himself. They have 73 vampires ready to attack. The vampires have some free will, but they do seem to be controlled by Remmick to a significant degree. They all share knowledge and powers. Remmick seems to be stronger than they are, probably due to his centuries of experience perfecting his vampiric powers. He does burn slower than the rest when the sun comes up. That does beg the question, how strong are the Sinner vampires? Vampires are often much stronger than humans, being able to easily overpower them as if they were an inferior species. The vampires and Sinners may not seem to be that much stronger than humans, being able to wrestle with them, but they definitely have an edge over them. Stack was Remmick's strongest and most competent fighter out of all of them, and he was able to knock a door clear off its hinges. Door hinges in the 1930s are often cited as being a mix of steel and copper. It's hard to get an exact number for this strength, but if we take the highest possible end for destroying a copper door hinge, it's possible Stack was outputting nearly 20,000 joules of energy, or wall levels of power. This certainly puts him above most humans by a long shot, and Remmick should be superior to Stack. But by how much, it's probably not a whole lot. Remmick is a special kind of villain. Not many of them can get away with doing a traditional Irish jig in the middle of the third act, and still remain scary, but he does. He's not evil per se, but that doesn't stop him from being intimidating and threatening. With all that's been said, it's no wonder he's already entered into the Horror Hall of Fame for villains. Now onto the parasitic witch, Aunt Gladys. As far as villains go, Gladys is an interesting case. We only get glimpses of her earlier in the film, never really seeing or understanding what she is. It isn't until we see Alex's perspective do we truly understand her. She claims to be the aunt to the Lily family, but this doesn't seem to be true. She seems to be way older than she looks, which is impressive because she looks really freaking old. She stays alive by draining life force from those under her control, but it seems to have slowed down recently, as she needs help from the Lily family to keep herself afloat. When Alex's parents weren't enough, she had Alex bring her objects from his classmates, so that she could be stealing their life force as well. We should begin by explaining how Gladys' powers actually work. Gladys uses a small bonsai-like tree to perform a lot of her magic. She can put anyone under her spell by wrapping a piece of their person around a stick from her tree, then ringing a bell. When she has them under her control, she can make them do simple tasks, but they're mostly like statues, completely still. In this state, she slowly drains their life force, adding to her own and keeping herself alive. The controlled people have no free will of their own, and won't even eat or sleep at all. Gladys uses them as weapons and treats them as such. To make the weapons lock onto her target, she can do one of two things. She can wrap a strand of hair around the same stick as the weapon and snap it, or have the target cross the salt line she lays on the floor. This causes her minions to rush towards the target relentlessly, never stopping or slowing down until their target is dead or they are. Her spells can be stopped by dropping a stick into a bowl of water or by killing Gladys, as she actually has to be alive to use her magic. Even if Gladys is killed, it's not guaranteed her victims will be fine. She can absorb enough of their life to leave them catatonic for life. She chose her victims very carefully and she is quite methodical. Gladys secludes herself in the Lily household, locking it up tight and hiding behind her weapons. She only reveals herself when she has an advantage, as she's incredibly frail by herself. That's why she uses it as weapons. How many does she have? Well, her first victims were Alex's parents, but she also has Marcus, Paul, and James later on. Most iconically, she has 17 students from Justin's class under her control too. Archer was controlled very briefly, but it was so short that he was completely fine after the spell was broken. Ignoring Archer, she has 22 weapons available to fire at those who try to interfere with her plans. Weapons are useless if not strong, so how powerful are her weapons? Well, they cannot feel pain and have near endless stamina. No amount of distance, obstacles, or pain will stop them. The only way to thwart them is to kill them, which is extremely hard due to their superhuman durability. She can send all of them at once or send specific ones by snapping the sticks accordingly. They're not only hard to put down, but they have the strength to match. They're clearly stronger under Gladys' control, being able to rip people apart and smash them to bits with ease. Even the kids were able to shatter a wooden door into pieces and break through a fence. Between their unstoppable strength and unmovable durability, it's hard to escape them. Gladys doesn't share these traits, as she's only able to outrun them and attack normal people with the element of surprise. Gladys is a special kind of evil. The terrible things she does to the community, and especially the children, makes her a despicable witch that's easy to hate, but she's also responsible for some amazing moments. All this is one of the reasons she might have one of the greatest deaths in horror movie history. It's both hilarious and very cathartic. It takes a great villain to do that. So who wins, the vampire with his sinners or the witch with the weapons? Well, this fight is an odd one. How a fight begins might matter to some matchups, but this one in particular. Obviously, if Remmick and Gladys were by themselves in a boxing ring, the Irish Fiend takes it easily. Gladys is a character defined by her cunning and weapons, so she won't win a fist fight, but if the fight takes place during the day, Remmick dies immediately. The point of this is to see who would actually win given their unique powers and abilities. So who actually wins? Let's start with the circumstances. Both villains have stipulations behind their powers working. For Remmick's sake, let's assume it's at night, that he's been invited into the Lily household. As soon as he enters, he crosses the salt line, activating the weapons. This allows both of them to fight at their full power. So who wins given the equal grounds fight? It's clear Remmick's army is way larger than Gladys' weapons. Including himself, Remmick has 73 vampires ready to fight, while Gladys only has 22 weapons to use, 3.5 times less. This is on top of the fact that Remmick is very capable of fighting, while Gladys can't. His minions also have more powers, being able to fly and regenerate, while the weapons only have supernatural levels of stamina. This all seems like it's leading into Remmick's favor, even with Gladys having the home court. There are a few more things we need to look at though. Stack was able to knock that wooden door completely off its hinges. As the strongest of all Remmick's vampires, he should be the peak of what his army can do. Remmick himself might be stronger, but if so, it's unknown by how much. This puts all the vampires in or around 20,000 joules of energy. This makes all of them in the wall level tier of power. How could the human weapons compare? Well, the kid weapons were capable of smashing that door to bits while chasing Gladys. Even taking the lowest end of wooden door fragmentation puts it at 515,000 joules, making the weapons over 25 times stronger than the vampires. This would make it extremely difficult for the vampires to actually attack Gladys, since even her child minions are far superior. Even with there being more vampires, it would only take 3 weapons to match the power of the vampires combined. The vampires have more powers, but the weapons have superior fighting ability, as they have more stamina and strength. Sure, the vampires can survive minor wounds, but having their entire head ripped off is definitely off the table. This is assuming Gladys, a supernatural conjurer with a methodical mind, wouldn't be able to take advantage of the vampire's obvious weaknesses. Not to mention the weapons can defend Gladys while tracking down Remmick. No matter how far he goes, they'll chase him, and attacking Remmick means attacking the whole army of vampires. Remmick also has more experience than Gladys, but is far less direct with his attacks. He is overconfident and fools around more. Gladys is very serious and does whatever she needs to do to win immediately. Remmick lost because he took too long to finish off his prey, while Gladys lost because she was betrayed by someone she thought she had under her thumb. Gladys' win cons are just far more reliable and consistent. As soon as Remmick crosses the salt line, he has little options to protect against a swarm of weapons tearing him apart. He likely couldn't convert them into vampires, and none of his minions can protect him from beings dozens of times stronger. It isn't a 100-0 matchup, but Remmick would struggle to win. Sure, you can nerf Gladys' powers by rigging the fight in a way that favors Remmick, but at that point, you're not really asking who would win. He may have the superior film, but in this fight, the weapons are coming out on top. Well, that's the video. What do you think? Is this a surprising outcome? I know it was for me. When researching this video, I assumed Remmick would destroy the witch. I look forward to doing more horror matchups in the future. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below, and if you liked what you saw, drop a sub so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, this is Mr. Catface, signing off. God bless.